Welcome to Being Humankind with your hosts Brian, Mike, and Neely. We explore what it means to be human in a time of disconnection.
What would you need to conquer your biggest fear?
Ooh. Start off with a good one. Huh. I got to think about that one for a second. It's kind of hard to answer that question because I've been really trying to work on my myself so much that I've kind of been trying to get rid of my fears. So, I really got to think about this. You hit the hard one right off the top. I guess the first thing that would come to mind is, over the last, I'd say like 5 or 6 years, I've been trying to tackle my fears in a way that doesn't really like erase them or make me forget about them, but just kind of makes me accept them and realize that they're kind of part of my life. So if you would ask me this 5 or 6 years ago, I guess I would be saying something along the lines of mortality and, not leaving a legacy or being forgotten or that sort of stuff. That's kind of been thrown against the wall and left there. Oddly enough, I think my biggest fear in life is really just, looking back at my life and saying I could have done more. And I don't think that's a realistic fear because there's no way you can do as much as you want. I think it's an impossibility with life. So when I guess I could hone that down a little bit and say I want to look back and make sure that I was always there for my family. I was the best family man that could be, and that my kids were always the focus of my life, and my wife being the focus of my life. And I think that one thing that I need to conquer that fear is actually to work on the ability to actually prioritize what's a priority in my life. Like that's something that's hard to do when you're in a situation in life where a lot of people ask you to do stuff. So as I've become more known as an artist and as a speaker, and I'm always being asked to do stuff and talk about stuff and travel and do that, that part of me says that's great. I'm sending out a message. I think I'm making a difference in this world. It might be a very, very small difference, but I think there's a positivity in what I'm accomplishing in that aspect. But at the same time, it's a give and take. So with every time I'm out talking to the guys about how to be better, I'm not with my family, telling them how to be better, and that is a general fear. I wouldn't say fear is a hard word, but it's always in the back of my mind. Like who is the biggest priority in my life sometimes, and the easy answer for anybody is to say your family, but many times you choose something over your family, and that can become quite a habit. So I think that ability to recognize maybe it's my ego pushing me to help everybody else rather than the actual efforts of helping people, and to put that on the back burner and say no so that I can focus on what really is supposed to be the most important things in my life.
I like it.
Hopefully that wasn't
Nope. Perfect.
for a question right off the top of my head.
So it's almost more of the fear of being imbalanced.
Yeah, I mean, it as I've grown over, there's these fears that I would have had when I was a kid that life experiences have kind of taken it away from me. It's weird to look back about parts of my life that were clearly not fun when they happened, and realized that in the long run, they helped me get over a lot of fears that a lot of people today have. When I was a kid in middle school, I got bullied so bad that I left school. I was getting in fights every day the last couple of months, and that fear of losing a fight. Not a physical fight, but the fear of losing, the fear of defeat, that fear of being put on the spot and being humiliated just doesn't exist with me anymore. And it's kind of weird to look back and look at those experiences in life in a new light, and kind of, sounds weird to say, but be kind of thankful that they happened, because if I didn't go through like the hell of middle school for me, I probably would be a weaker person now. So like those kind of superficial fears of that sort of stuff, I mentioned earlier, like that fear of mortality that everybody has. And I think just because I'm surrounded, or I try to surround myself with so many good people who are kind of on the path that I want to be, that fear's gone away too. It's it's just I hate to say it, if like I found out, I had 3 days to live, if you asked me that 10 years ago, I'd freak out. But of course I would freak out. But, right now I'm such in a good state of mind that it's just like, all right, I've had a great life, and I'm trying to do the best I can. I try not to half-ass it whenever possible. And yeah, it's just it's weird to be in a calm state now, when you stop focusing about what other people care about you, and just about how you care about yourself. It's kind of a drawn out answer, but I think that's getting into it a little bit more. And I'll turn off my phone.
So it almost sounds like you do have, I mean, there may always be a fear of imbalance, but it almost sounds like you do have a balance, or you're working toward way more of a balance than you ever had. But also what it sounds like is, you want to make your family proud and be there for your family. And these engagements that you have, your art and speaking engagements, it sounds almost like the thread of, through what you're saying, is that in doing those things, you are making your family proud. They're seeing these things that you're doing, and they're proud of these things that you're doing.
I think they are proud, but at the same time, my kids are young. Like, the kids have no idea what I'm doing. My daughter knows my 8-year-old daughter knows I paint because she comes in the studio with me, and she paints her little canvases and I paint mine. And, I don't think she understands that it's not common for people to sell art. I'm not, it's weird too, because I don't really consider myself like a great artist, but my kids, they're 8 and 4, their explanation of daddy going to speak at an event in, Colorado is daddy's not here. That's all they know. And, that does get to me. And it's, as they get older and stuff, I'm realizing more and more that maybe I don't want to do this as much. Just, and kind of switch it off to when they're older. And then, yeah, I'll love to get back on the circuit. But I think that mindset is driven by the fear that I'm not around. So it's an interesting conundrum. I don't know how like traveling salespeople do it, because, that's something that you might get paid very well to do it, but you're losing a lot, and it's pretty hard to ignore that. And, sometimes people are put in those positions. I can't really judge them for it. I'm not them, but for me, it's voluntary, and I don't get paid for any of that. Get paid for my art, of course, but I'm really just doing it because people are asking me, and for some reason I'm delivering something that they can't get somewhere else. So it's a really hard conundrum to be in sometimes.
How is that? How is the shift in fear from, as it's matured, how's that affected your art in terms of like subject or composition?
Um, so for art, see, art was really weird for me. So, I went to a high school that had a really good art department, and I was clearly the art student. I looking back, I was, kind of socially inept. I was that person who, hey, I have a free moment. Hey, you want to go on a date? No, I got a drawing to finish type thing, and that's all I really wanted to do. And I had a small group of friends, but I always, felt like kind of drawn towards it. In fact, I quit the baseball team senior year so that I could work on art to prepare for college, and then didn't go to art school. But my art kind of changed. 8 years ago. It was when I was getting into masonry and stuff, but I think it was more of the fact that I was at an age where I thought, all right, I really haven't gotten really good training in this, and it is my passion in life. If I want to do this, I want to do it right. And there's a lot of people who are surrounding me who are, pushing this idea of excellence and making yourself a better person, and that was my passion in life. So I kind of decided to push myself, and shedding, I wouldn't say shedding fears affected my art. When you do go to school for art, your fears kind of get thrown out because you have to be critiqued all the time, and that can be hard on multiple levels. First off, you're going to get a teacher who's going to say what you just worked on for 10 hours is crap, and why are you doing this? Explain yourself. And then there's the thing that was getting me was, I was getting students who were graduating with me who couldn't draw, who could not paint, telling me I'm doing it wrong. And it's you conquer that fear of being put on the spot because you're constantly taught how to defend yourself almost intellectually against people who are just basically saying what your life's passion is a waste of time. So the fear in art really didn't go away. It was really more of the getting over the I'm good enough mental better way of saying it is like the thought process of saying, yeah, that's good enough. I kind of changed that overnight when I said, no, I can do better. So, I'd finish a piece of art and it'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. And then, come back 3 days later, look at it and go, well, crap, and mess that up. And then kind of embracing it, it sounds really cliche and like sophomoric to say it, but like, that military saying of like, embrace the suck. It applies to everything. And when it comes to art, it's pretty cool to go that route when you're like, all right, you did a great job, but check yourself a little bit, buddy. You've messed up here, you messed up there. That could be better. You rush this, do it better next time, and then you do it. And, I think that mentality, rather than, conquering fears or whatever that is pushed me to be better, because I think I'm at a level of skill where a lot of people think I'm good and I look at myself where I think I'm mediocre, but I don't have a lot of people around me who are telling me I'm mediocre, and I need to fill that void by me, like being brutally honest with myself. And it's a good place to be mentally if you're gonna produce art, because it's very hard to push for excellence when you're the only person in the room sometimes. It's a different way of putting it.
Do you think any artist, and I'm asking this honestly, do you think any artist thinks they're great, thinks their art is great? And I'm coming from the standpoint of, I don't paint. I do have a different medium, and I look at the things that I do, and I think at times this is great, and I come back a few days later and I think this sucks. And there's other people that say this is so great, oh my God, and I think I don't like it at all. So do you think that there are artists out there that think their final piece is wonderful, or do you think, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So for if I think that the answer to that question has drastically ebbed and flows throughout history. Like I think any good artist who's taking art to like almost a spiritual level, like which I kind of try to do, is never satisfied. But the term artist is almost undefinable. What is art? What is an artist? That's hours and hours of debate right there. And you can go online and see people who are just like, look at how awesome my stuff is. And, you might think that person has an ego that's bubbling over and they are so full of themselves and yada, yada, yada. But hey, you might disagree with how they're acting or how they're looking at their art, but guess what? They're still an artist. So, and you shouldn't shy away from that fact. So, I find the term artist, or when people ask you a question, hey, as an artist, how do you feel? It's almost a moot point at that point because it's such a broad definition. I mean, someone could say like, hey, I put on, red glasses today instead of blue glasses. I'm an artist, for this face. And hey, in their capacity, that might be a bold choice for them. Maybe that's something that could possibly, affect their social life, and they're just gonna do it anyway and put it on their face. And having that judgmental "my art is better than your art" stuff can lead to some really, really bad places. So in that sense, it's kind of hard to paint a broad subject with artists. But if I were going to say, if an artist was approaching art in the way that I do it, which is I'm striving to be better every time, I don't think you could ever be happy with your work. And I really think that mindset is what sets, and I'm not saying this to say that I'm elite, because I really do not think so. But when you look at history, and you look at the writings of like the masters, and you look at the way people talked about their art on a different level, there's this elite set of artists who are just like, I can go bigger, I can go bolder, I can do better, I can go crazier. Like Picasso, he's just like, I can do better, I can go crazier, I'm going to make it bigger, I'm going to, and just never stopping. Those people like that who just, you can sense that it's like art and creation is just the essence of their individualism, and those people can't be settled. You just can't settle for yourself. So I like to put myself in that mindset where at the same time, I definitely don't put myself in the same category of skill with them. I'm a big fan of Michelangelo's quote when he was a week away from dying, where he said, "I'm still learning." It's the mindset I always want to be with. If you get to the point where you say in any aspect of your life that I'm good enough, like, then, hey buddy, you're not out of the cave, you're still chained to the wall, that sort of thing.
I saw this meme the other day. It was like a modern artist saying, I want to be like the old masters. And then they had like Michelangelo saying, I want to be like the old masters. And then Leonardo was like, I want to be like the old masters. And then they showed like a caveman painting on the wall, and he's like, horse, good.
That's awesome. I haven't seen that one.
All right, Neil, you want to do the next question?
Sure. I love that, what you just said. I'm still learning. I know that just like, I love that.
It's a quote that like hit me. Like,
Yeah.
I got into Michelangelo. I felt some sort of connection with him, and I started reading about him, and I'm like really looking at his art and kind of using him as a teacher. And like that quote is top 10 all time for me. So I actually have it on my wall in my studio somewhere.
It's funny because I before you said that, I kept thinking about the Sistine Chapel and how it just feels like it just goes on and on and on and on. It's like it just couldn't. It's just like I'm going to stop, but I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep going and going and going and going. And then you said that it's just like it's just almost like he couldn't stop.
Speaking of that, where is Mikey?
He's up there.
It's kind of bad that he's not in the picture.
Okay.